Who won the WWE Transfer Portal? I'm Will, that's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling, huh?
Ooh. Yeah, the transfer window is now officially closed here. Oh my God, this guy's just
Dropping
struggling
stuff
all over the place. It's officially closed now. We thought we looked at it and say who won, who lost, who should have been in the transfer window here. Really liked the way they kind of built this up.
Mm-hmm.
There was some sneaky good stuff. There was some stuff I was honestly kind of indifferent on. I don't really know how I would rate the transfer window as a whole.
I like it. I'm down with this around Rumble time. Like right before Road to WrestleMania, get your rosters right. And when Rumble comes, close it off. And then you got your rosters for the Road to WrestleMania. Cool stuff. But I want to break down what we have so far. Raw was able to snag AJ Styles, Nia Jax, Bayley, A-Town, Austin Theory, and Grayson Waller, Logan Paul. SmackDown was able to snag Damian Priest, The Miz, Wyatt Six, maybe Drew McIntyre. It's kind of up in the air on that one. Like he's been...
And I would say maybe Nia Jax for Raw.
Yeah, maybe there.
I would say I'm not 100% sure she's on there.
Yeah.
She had that one kind of a couple week appearance, but
Braun Strowman, Zelina Vega, and then we are going to add in here because reports were going out today, and it probably already happened on SmackDown. We filmed this before it, but Alexa Bliss is reportedly going to SmackDown as well. Mm-hmm. So, with that said, who do you think won the transfer portal? Raw or SmackDown?
I think Raw won.
Really?
And I think it was kind of what we thought was going to happen. I think that we thought Raw was going to get a bunch of the stars because of Netflix, a bunch of the impactful players because of Raw and Netflix really drive that home, really stack that roster. I would say it's not as clear cut. I would say it's a little bit closer than what I thought. I thought Raw would decisively just destroy the entire roster, basically. But I would still give the edge to Raw here.
I actually think SmackDown won this transfer window. I really did. Damian Priest is a top guy. That him going over there is a big deal. Drew McIntyre, if he is in fact a SmackDown guy, which rumors of his WrestleMania plans allude to him being a SmackDown guy, that's massive. Mm-hmm. We were talking about for a long time how it felt like it was Cody, the Bloodline, and then there was nothing else on that roster. You need top talent like that. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest will get you that. If Alexa Bliss does end up going there, that's a massive, massive, massive talent to have in the women's division and someone that Tiffany can fight and feud with for a long time if they decide to stick with her for a long time. But Wyatt Six, obviously, that's something that you could add into SmackDown. They can be a kind of a joker card if you want to. So I just think that SmackDown needed to more round itself, and they won the transfer portal because they were able to do that. They were able to more round their entire roster with these additions.
That's not too bad. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's a lot closer than it's kind of just what you like. I also took the thought process of, even though they're not officially or they're not WWE superstars, the commentary teams. I took that into play in terms of Michael Cole, Pat McAfee being on Raw, Joe and Wade technically transferring to SmackDown.
Well, that's not close.
Yeah, really kind of drives it home there. That's kind of why I picked Raw. You look at it from the superstar side, you get AJ Styles for Raw. Braun Strowman, I was kind of like, in terms of going to SmackDown. Damian Priest is huge. Hopefully something good happens there. So I think if you look at just the specific wrestlers, then yeah, you could say SmackDown.
Speaking of all those superstars we just saw, and you think Raw won, I think SmackDown won, so that sets the table for a nice little conversation here. Which superstars do you think benefit the most from their transfer?
Yeah, so I have, I guess, 3 that really benefited here.
Same.
So I have Damian Priest, as we just talked about, as you just mentioned. Damian Priest was really kind of in like a muddled scene in terms of the Raw kind of title scene, but upper mid card, but also with Judgment Day, and it's kind of clouded. Now he gets a fresh start to be Damian Priest on his own. Really a chance to really fill a spot in there, like you just mentioned, in terms of SmackDown. He's great in ring. You see the response he's getting from the fans is something he didn't really get before, not to that level. So that all that time, all that effort, energy on Raw has transferred over to SmackDown, which is nice to see. So I have Damian Priest in terms of, he's probably the one who benefited the most for me.
I agree. Damian Priest. I think that he had a phenomenal 2024, but they kind of booked him in the corner with his ties to Judgment Day and his ties to Rhea Ripley. It felt like no matter what he was going to do with all those people on the roster, and you see them every time Raw's on TV, it just felt like he was definitely going to get caught in that web, no matter what he did. Go over to SmackDown now. You have a whole new playing field, man. You got feuds out the butt. You got LA Knight. You got Shinsuke Nakamura. If you wanted to, you could get Cody Rhodes in there, hopefully, if they decide to one day, break Cody away from the Bloodline story completely and have nothing to do with that. Because Damian and Cody, I think, could put on an absolute show. And then, of course, if they're going to go right into Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest on SmackDown, that's a top-tier feud for SmackDown. That is huge. So Damian Priest, he gets the up there. I also had Zelina Vega.
I had her on my list as well.
She benefits a lot from this. She really does. Zelina Vega has kind of been known as a very over woman superstar. She's very popular with the women, and she always is just kind of thrown into the lull gaps. If the main card champion doesn't have much to do for the next month, it feels like they just throw Zelina Vega at it, and she gives great promo, she gives great in-ring work, but the result at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you go and throw her on SmackDown, that's a phenomenal Chelsea Green feud, and that's a phenomenal person to win the United States Championship. And if you do that, you can build her up to be someone to fight Tiffany Stratton down the line. Zelina's got a clean slate going to SmackDown, and I'm happy for her, and I think she's really going to benefit from this.
Yeah, I had her on my list as well, like I said. For everything that you just named, also in terms of, we just talked about Damian Priest being kind of tied in with the Judgment Day stuff. Zelina was kind of just tied in with LWO stuff. She was always kind of around. She was always kind of just, hey, I'm like the woman that's in this group, but I'm not a mouthpiece. I don't really do anything. I'm just kind of here sort of thing. So it's time to reestablish Zelina Vega and fresh start again. SmackDown, boom.
Yeah. Anybody else on your list?
Yeah, I had one more, and you got one more. Let's see if we went 3 for 3, huh? AJ Styles.
I have AJ Styles.
Bang.
Yeah.
So the face that runs the place, I guess, on SmackDown, or is that what he used to say?
Yeah, the face that runs the place.
The house that AJ Styles built, sort of thing. AJ Styles moving over to Raw. We talk about the Raw mid-card scene, especially. We've continued to talk about that. It is still great. It is still fantastic, hard-hitting, really great wrestling week in, week out, whether it's Penta or Ludwig or Chad Gable or Sheamus or Braun Break. I mean, you could just kind of keep going on and on and on. And AJ's at the point in his career for me that I don't expect him to win main titles anymore. Like, I don't expect him to go after Gunther or Cody or things like that. I want him in the mid-card scene. I want him in these great matches, these week in, week out feuds, basically. I'm not saying AJ doesn't deserve it or can't get back to that point, but I want to see him in the wrestling division and just to put on 5-star matches all the time.
In terms of win-loss record, he's going to benefit the least, I think, from all these people. But it doesn't matter because his match quality and what he's going to do for the roster that is on Raw can be huge. You can put him against Braun Breaker. You can put him against Penta, like you said, Ludwig Kaiser, Dragon Lee, any of these guys, and AJ Styles is going to have an absolutely phenomenal match, and he's going to be able to put these guys over because AJ is officially one of those guys who takes a loss and you don't care. He still holds the exact same weight. He's almost in that Randy Orton category of person at this point. AJ Styles is going to be a spectacular addition to Raw, and side note, he's already benefited the most from this because Dude got his theme song back. They don't want none. Yeah, they don't want none. I did have one more.
Ooh.
I did have one more. I snuck in there.
Oh.
I don't really have any reason. The Miz. The Miz was a comedy act on Raw. He's been a comedy act on Raw for 2 years now. Throw him on SmackDown. Maybe we can get him something. So I just, that's more of a projection. Like by the end of 2025, maybe the Miz was in a good U.S. title feud with somebody. Maybe that's just
maybe. I mean, like
wishful thinking.
Like you said, wishful thinking for sure. The reason I did not put Miz on my list is because right away they're basically running back the Wyatt stuff again.
Yeah.
And so immediately I'm like, oh God, well, we could have really had a fresh start. So if one or, if either the Miz or the Wyatts had went to SmackDown and the other had stayed away, perfect. No big deal. But they didn't do that. Speaking
of the Wyatt Six, this now transitions us to who benefited the least or who's going to take the biggest step back from the move. Mm-hmm. I think Wyatt Six moving to SmackDown is just... It's a lateral move, and it's just WWE admitting that they have no idea what to do with them. The only people, or given the Wyatt Six's motivation that they have established in the WWE for attacking people, you only leave almost one feud that you can do on SmackDown, and they're not gonna do it. You leave them going after like Kevin Owens and the Bloodline type stuff. Look, I love the Wyatt Six. I'm as interested in them as the next guy. but they're not going to be thrown at those top level guys. So what the hell do you do on SmackDown? Right now, like you said, it seems like they're just going to stick with the Miz stuff. So we're just going to send them to SmackDown, but just do the same thing that wasn't working on Raw. It's a sad situation. I think they take a step back.
Yeah, I have them on my list as well. I think it's kind of hard to not have them on your list if you think about it. I mean, like you said, there's not really a lot, at least right away, that you can look at them to do. I guess maybe you could have a couple of the members, you could break it up to where a couple of the members feud with maybe like a DIY because Gargano turned his back, but like, guess what? Not interested in that. For me, the Wyatt Six, I was like, okay, cool. They're going to SmackDown. And originally, I think we had thought that like this would be a good idea. But when it was announced they would do SmackDown, I just, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Admittedly. Another one on my list is one that I think maybe you liked a little bit more than me. On his way to SmackDown, Braun Strowman. Same thing for me. Lateral move. Don't really care. It's evident that the injuries have kind of caught up with Braun, so his in-ring has kind of suffered a little bit. You look at it, I don't know who he fights with. Maybe he fights Shinsuke at times. You could pencil him in for some random matches here or there. But for me, at least, it was rough when the very first thing he did was come out and beat Carmelo Hayes, and I said, oh no, I don't like this at all. Yeah. Don't do this. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't have much to say on it. Agreed. But it's one of those things where it's like, that's been the last 4 years for Braun Strowman. I love him. He's a good dude. And when he makes his splash returns once a year, it's fun. The Raw, and then he comes out and destroys everybody. It's fun. But yeah, it's a lateral move. Mm-hmm. This is a curveball. I said also Damian Priest. So he could either benefit the most or he could take the biggest step back. And the reason being, Damian Priest was kind of constantly in the main title scene on Raw the whole last year, right? He stole it at WrestleMania. He had a great title reign throughout up until SummerSlam. And then he was kind of booked to be, he was the Terror Twin. He was basically unbeatable there for a bit. Amazing. That's great. Now he's to SmackDown, and you do have the inevitable roadblock of Cody Rhodes. And it's like, what do you do if you have Cody Rhodes as your champion, really? Because Damian Priest, if you do book him to go against Cody Rhodes, I think that could be great. But the thing is, it's the biggest issue that people have with Cody Rhodes' title reign. They seem to not like to get too far away from the whole bloodline cloud of stuff. And if you're going to keep Cody in the whole bloodline cloud of stuff, and like in particular, if you build up Jacob Fatu enough, then Damian Priest is just going to stay on the outside of that cloud, and he'll never go back into the main title scene. So I think that he could either benefit the most, or it could also be a step back if they do keep up the same booking that they have been with Cody Rhodes.
That's fair. That's really fair. I guess I just have the faith that, hey, they've proven to us that they've made Damian a star, and they've seen how the responses have been so far. So I'm just giving them the faith of, hey, hopefully they don't do that. The next one I have is a tag team. I don't know if did you put any tag team on yours?
No. No, I'm forgetting what tag. Oh, A-Town?
Yep. Yeah. A-Town Down Under is who I put. I put it from SmackDown to Raw. It's kind of another, like you said, lateral move, but it also, you look at the tag team scene on Raw, and you got the War Raiders, but then you got New Day, and then you got Judgment Day, and then you got, I guess, LWO when they want to go together, and you've got Alpha Academy, and you've got American Made, the Creed brothers. Like, the Raw tag division is so stacked. Like, there's so many teams. Not saying it's a good division by any means.
Yes.
A lot of teams.
Yes.
I feel as if they're just going to be another team that's kind of lost in the shuffle, as kind of what they were on SmackDown a little bit. I know they've kind of been on NXT here or there, or they've been here or there. They've kind of always moved around a little bit. But this week on Raw, this past week, they cut a promo on Otis and Tozawa and Maxine in the crowd during a commercial, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm glad you guys made the move. Real impact here. Way to drive it home. Just something that, once again, you talked about the Wyatt Six with them not knowing what to do with them. I don't think they know what to do with Theory and with Waller. Two guys that I think are good. Yeah. I really enjoy both of them, but for some reason, something's not clicking.
Yeah, I didn't put them on here because I think that they are just stuck in constant lull. I mean, they're entertaining as hell. I mean, Grayson Waller is one of one on the mic. I mean, he's that good. But it's one of those things where it's like, we all thought that the turn was going to happen last WrestleMania. And now WrestleMania 41 is in a month and a half. It's like, okay, is that ever going to come? Like at this point, do we even want it to? Would we care if it happened? I don't think so. So I'm with you. They're being thrown on Raw, which has a tag team title going on with it. There's some mud everywhere, but there's a lot of mud. Like you said, a lot of tag teams, but nothing really going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could throw them in there and make it better, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, you have the New Day over there, you have Judgment Day over there, which for the time being, I mean, obviously we think it's going to crumble, and then you have the Creed brothers over there, so it's already kind of dominated by some heel tag teams over there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we just added another one, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. I have one more.
So
one more. Nia Jax.
Ooh.
Which is going to sound, if you listen to our podcast, you're going to be like, what? Will just said that? Because I was a huge proponent. I love Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley, and I thought they put on an absolute show at Saturday Night Main Event. Absolutely loved that. Problem is, you already did it. You already did the Rhea Nia, and Nia lost. And now it's like all that, it feels like all that work that she did on SmackDown to become a Rhea equivalent. That's what she was on SmackDown. She was the destroyer of SmackDown. But now you immediately send her over to Raw. She immediately loses to the big dog on SmackDown. And now it just feels like she has to take a peg down. Like she's now lower than Rhea. And that doesn't fit the character they've built over the last year with her to me. And so I think she'll still thrive. And I think she's doing the best work of her career. So I'm not saying that she's right now doing bad. But I just, if I'm projecting, if I have to sit here and predict what her future looks like, I'm going, okay, well, she's never really going to get back to that title scene in the foreseeable future. So that has to be a technical step back because on SmackDown, she was all that.
Yeah, I didn't really put her on my list because I don't really know if she transferred or what they're really doing.
Yeah,
I guess
fair.
That's kind
fair.
of the bigger question. Yeah, she dominates in the Royal Rumble, and they kind of try to reestablish that after they took it away, like you said. But she's been on Raw. She's been on SmackDown. She is kind of in a weird spot because I think we all think Tiffany versus Charlotte is going to be that. And I think Rhea and Io is going to be that. So where does Nia Jax end up? I think maybe she takes the tag title route with Candice LeRae. That way you can have her kind of maybe go back and forth between both shows and she can still be dominant. It's kind of like a participation trophy. Like it doesn't in terms of, hey, you were really, really good. We're still going to keep you dominant, but we also know that you're not as dominant as them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's tiers.
Yeah.
So I've got one more. I'm going with Bayley on this one. SmackDown to Raw, same thing there. You kind of look at it and you're like, well, I know she's not beating Rhea Ripley. Well, you look at it, okay, well, she's not going to beat Valkyria. Right now, she's doing some good stuff with Roxanne Perez.
Yeah.
Obviously, Roxanne is in NXT, and you have Bayley kind of bouncing back and forth. But to me, that's kind of the big thing. Like, Bayley is on Raw, but she's doing the best work in NXT. So she's not really doing anything for the Raw brand specifically. And once it's all said and done, what does Bayley do?
Yeah. I almost put Bayley on this list and I actually wrote her down for it. But then when I was thinking about it, I was kind of like, man, I'd rather Bayley just be a floater. I think she does her best work when she's not tied down to kind of anything because I love what she's doing in NXT right now. I think she's entertaining when she pops up on Raw, when she pops up on SmackDown. She's very much an over and entertaining character without the belt. As long as she doesn't have that belt, I'm always glad to see Bayley on TV. It's just when you decide to nail her down to a brand and try to give her the title, it just doesn't seem to click for her. So
yeah.
I wouldn't say she takes a step back, in my opinion. I would just say, keep doing what you're doing and I'll be happy with it. It's kind of what. One last thing that I want to say really quickly. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
No.
Okay.
No, you're good.
One last thing that I want to say one last topic really quickly. Who should have been a part of this transfer portal? Who do you think should have been a part of this transfer portal that didn't make the cut?
This is maybe the most fun part of it. I've got a list here. I'm starting at the bottom of my list here.
Started from the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going with two names. I'm going with Trick Williams and Ethan Page. Now, those are NXT people, and you're like, what were they transferred to? I don't care. I feel like they really missed an opportunity here for them to come up and really show that they are main roster ready. I think that they are. You could have put them on SmackDown. That would have been fine. Hell, we have 2 hours, 45 minutes of Raw every week. Throw them in something there. I don't really care. I would like to see those two guys kind of go towards the masses in terms of, hey, everybody, if you don't know who they are, here they are sort of thing. Was really hoping for something in the Rumble with them to kind of signify that, but looks like we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer.
I'll piggyback off that. I was disappointed that no NXT talent made the transfer portal at all. You already said Trick and Ethan. I think that those would be definites. I think Roxanne, and I think that what they're doing with Bayley is basically a call up, and what she did at the Rumble is basically a call up. It's coming, but I would have liked it to be official during the transfer portal.
She's on my list as well.
I said the Meta Girls too. They have fought Jade and Bianca. They fought Bianca and Naomi. Like they've fought the top talent in their respective division of the women's division, like the tag division. Why not just boost them up to SmackDown real quick and have them start to get to good work? And then of course, you could add any of the women. Any of the women, really, in my opinion, are ready for the big league. So
yeah, and in terms of people to say like, oh, well, you don't want to take all the talent from NXT. NXT is very loaded; they would be fine, but also at the same time, like there's an overabundance of talent down there, and sometimes on some of the shows, you're like, especially SmackDown, from time to time, you're like, damn, we need some more talent up here.
I agree. I will say PFC should have transferred. Yep. PFC.
They're on every list.
Should have gone to SmackDown. Should have gotten a reboot. Keep calling them PFC. That's fine. Delete Pure Fusion.
Just call them FCP.
FCP. Yeah, screw it. I don't know. Reboot them. Delete the Pure Fusion Collective part of it. Just call them PFC, and then we're just going to accept it, right? But they were like, their booking in the Rumble suggested that WWE still wants them to be a dominant trio. But the way you booked them on Raw over the past 3 months it's a complete opposite dialogue. It's like every single time PFC gets involved with anything, they're going to lose it. So why not just ship them to SmackDown and have them start running Rampage on that roster? Try to get these 3 women who are all great in their own aspects over in some way, shape, or form. I would have liked to see it.
Yeah. I've got 5 more names here. So I'm going to take the combo name out first. Liv and Dom.
No,
I'm saying it now. I get they're great on Raw. I get they're fantastic. It's more so storyline wise, you look at it and you're like, well, that didn't make any sense. Why would they just go do this? I just really wanted Dom and her to be kind of separate from the Judgment Day. I know eventually that is what we're going to get. And hopefully Dom gets the win over Finn in terms of when things are all said and done. That's what we get. But I would have, you kind of talked about Edge and Lita-ish, where they kind of run stuff and they're kind of that dominant couple sort of thing. I would have liked to see that on SmackDown, but you know what? Is what it is. I think it's okay.
I would have liked to see Dom and Liv stay and then ship JD and Finn. That's how I would
some way, somehow. Yeah.
That's how I would have done it. But I agree with you.
Yep.
One thing that I think that we'll both have, American made. Get the American made on the brand with the United States Championships. It writes itself, right?
I didn't put them on my list, but yeah, it does make sense.
Why wouldn't you do that? I get it. They're American made. It's the Intercontinental, right? So they would take over the whole world. The red, white, and blue strap on Chad and on Ivy?
Yeah, it just makes a ton of sense.
Justin Bieber, no brainer.
Did not put them on my list, but now that you say that, yeah. I've got 2, I guess, here that are, I guess you could probably agree with, and the one that maybe is a little bit more controversial. So we have Carmelo Hayes. It goes kind of goes without saying. Monday Night Mello, he could have had his own saying, something like that. Mello don't miss sort of thing.
Everybody's got a shtick.
Mondays don't miss something.
Welcome to Monday Night Mello. I can see it now.
Yeah, exactly. Ludwig Kaiser as well. In terms of he kind of seems to be trapped in the IC title scene as well. So why not put him over, have him kind of dominate a little bit over there? You could have maybe made him a face eventually. I know Kaiser's kind of like that dominant heel, and I love it, but
he's got a natural asshole to him.
He does. Whoa. He does. I love him. He does. Don't get me wrong. But just something in terms of, I don't see him anytime soon getting any success on the mid-card on Raw. So you could have him go to SmackDown, do something. And then I went with Braun Breaker. Now I say that, and I say it's controversial. I'm ready just for the next step. I'm ready just for him to just start destroying things, making it his own show again. I think probably we get that after Mania, in terms of after he drops the IC title and he kind of just takes that next step, takes that next leap. But I just want to see him really kind of be a monster. They've kind of filled that role with Jacob Fatu a little bit. But just in terms of that next big thing, the next big guy, I wanted him to kind of take that step.
To me, the next big step for Braun is waiting for Jey Uso to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Then you have Braun drop to Sheamus. You have Jay drop to Gunther. You have Braun, Jay.
Yeah, but I don't. In terms of, I wanted it in terms of like to what Jacob Fatu is, how he is destroying everybody. That's what I want.
Oh.
So in terms of, I guess they filled the role on SmackDown. They can still end up doing it on Raw, but I kind of thought about it in terms of that's just kind of what I wanted. We've seen him go against a lot of the same people in the mid card anyway. So you are right. Once he elevates that next step, he gets new opponents, new foes. But I'm ready for him to kind of be like that next big thing, like early Brock Lesnar type, how he was on SmackDown. That's kind of the thought that I have for that.
I only have one more. Street Profits. Montez Ford. I want them. I've wanted them on Raw forever and ever and ever. I've wanted them to establish themselves as the top guys on Raw in terms of the tag division and own that tag division for the foreseeable future. I know that they're now doing a heel or bad boy era in SmackDown, and they're going to get back involved with the Motor City Machine Guns DIY Pretty Deadly mess. But even saying that, that's a lot of words, right? They're involved with a lot of different stuff. Yeah. Should have just sent them to Raw. Should have just had them immediately go after the War Raiders and let that happen.
Yeah, it's tough. The only thing I would push back on with that is, well, I don't know if Street Profits wins this 4 tag team feud.
Right, they're not.
So you ship them to Raw. Well, I just talked about A-Town Down Under being in kind of this mud of Raw. It's kind of the same thing. Now, granted, I think Street Profits is better than some of those teams on Raw.
Right.
But there's still a bunch of mud you got to get through to get to those titles. So the tag title scene is just kind of weird as a whole.
Agreed.
They really put an emphasis, at least on last Mania, and about, man, I thought it was going to be a fresh start, a fresh beginning. Hey, we're going to get some more emphasis on tag team wrestling. As a guy that loves tag team wrestling, they're bringing it home. They're separating the titles. This is great. They haven't done that.
SmackDown they have. Raw, no.
Yeah, SmackDown they have. Raw is, specifically on Raw.
No.
It's not good.
Anybody else?
No, that's it. That's it for
I'm
my
going to throw
list.
one more in that I thought about real quick. Butch, Pete Dunne. Should have sent him to SmackDown, repurposed him, tried, because that man is one of the best wrestlers they have, if you know him. But they did this Butch thing, and they have gimmick killed him. So if you, I think if you want him to have any respect, you should have sent him to SmackDown, kept him off TV for a while, repurposed him, brought him out with his original Pete Dunne stuff, and done that.
Yeah, that he deserves it. You know what? I'll add one more. Giovanni Vinci. Why not?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you put him to Mondays on Raw and have him be the next big thing on Raw?
The next big thing, Giovanni Vinci.
Yeah.
Writes itself.
Just run the same exact promo packages that you had on SmackDown. Just put them on Raw and then just send them over to Raw. Have them do the same thing. I don't care. It was funny.
They'd put him in a ring with Braun Breaker and he'd kill him in 5 seconds.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Why not? Sign me up.
Well, that's who we think won the transfer portal and all of our thoughts on it. I think it's a cool idea. I think we may be talking about draft here and only in the next coming months because they kind of do that after WrestleMania normally. So the shakeup might continue down the line. So looking forward to that as well. But follow us on all of our socials at codwrestlepod, codwrestlepod. Listen to us wherever you get your podcast at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. And then, of course, we do our live streams Monday night, Friday night for Raw and SmackDown. If there are PLEs, we do that as well. So come join us, please. Our link tree has all of our links to all of our socials, so follow that. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.